code. There we go.
Okay,
Yay. So I think we have what, like maybe an hour-ish? Is that about right or less?
a little less.
Just so I can stay aware.
I
Okay,
have
perfect.
another appointment at right at the hour
Okay,
that I
perfect.
transition and switch platforms for. So
Gotcha. Okay. So we have like a list of questions, and I thought maybe we could just start with that and then see how it goes from there.
great.
Yay. Okay. So our purpose is to essentially, at the end of our project, be able to present to our classmates sort of a cultural immersion presentation, and so that we can all learn about polysystems together. And so that's kind of like the motivation of our interview with you for the moment. But any expertise that you have would be greatly appreciated. So, with that
And
in
you're
mind,
talking to some other folks as well, or
yeah, yeah.
okay.
I haven't listened to the other interview that some other group members did with another MFT, but we have that too. And so that way we can kind of compare and all of that and collab it all together. And we've been talking to some members of the poly community also. So we're trying to get some different perspectives and varying backgrounds and all of those kinds of things so that we can present like the most well-rounded um, I don't know, presentation for lack of a better word.
Yeah, the
Um,
presentation to the whole class, basically giving information to future therapists, systematic therapists on how to best serve um, poly individuals,
mhm.
poly couples. And so we're interviewing a lot of different people in the community, and then we're going to relay all this information. And we had to pick a group that experienced marginalization. And so we talked a little bit about that and how that all ties into being an MFT and working with people who are part of the poly community and how to best prepare these future therapists in that way.
So well said.
Great.
Um, Paylina, I have the list printed off, but if you have anything to add, please, at
I will
any
let you take the lead, and then if anything pops in my head, then I will introduce.
beautiful. Okay. So with that in mind, what would you say is your expertise, and how does it overlap with like a better understanding or support of the poly community?
I think there's th three maybe arenas that I will mention. One is as a clinician working with individuals, families, collectives of various kinds, and also group therapist. And then as a teacher in graduate program in counseling, where students were um, either on a path to become mental health counselors um, or family therapists. And then as a clinical supervisor for pre and post licensed clinicians. So those would be the three kind of angles where this work would have come up.
Yay. Um, I know that you don't only work with the poly community, but I'm curious, or we're curious rather, what drew you to working with, poly relationship structures or
Hmm.
um, relationships of that kind?
I started working as a clinician in 1981, and I wouldn't say that anything drew me. It's just more who found me, you know?
Hmm.
And also working with couples in a cyclical way or individuals and couples in a cyclical way where the shape of their system changed over time. So it was a kind of a very natural uh, integration of the different shapes of love that come into a clinical space. Yeah.
Makes sense. Um, in what ways would you say the poly community is a cultural group, and have you noticed certain characteristics that either like unite or divide?
I wouldn't really call it a cultural group exactly.
Hmm.
I think there's as much diversity. Oh, here's Emily.
Oh, perfect. Yay.
Maybe we can do a quick greet.
Yeah. Hey, Emily. This is Dr. Nieto, Leticia. Leticia, this is Emily. We just got started, so you have not missed very much at all. We've only asked a couple of questions, and we are recording so that you can, yeah. And then I have a list that I printed off of questions, but please, like, if there's anything that you want to add or expand on, please, let us know. Yay. Okay, cool.
Okay, so I was saying that I don't think of this as a group, but rather um, a system shape that can happen, a family system shape, just as, single parent families are not a group, um, or families with children or families without children are not a group. I don't think of it as a group. I think of all varieties of shapes and changing shapes in families and in collectives and also individuals um, that go in and out of different agreements and arrangements. Yeah.
So like more fluid changing shapes kind of than a specific
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, for example, classism is a factor that affects um, a group of people who are experiencing obstacles to access, economic access, and are experiencing economic injustice. But I wouldn't say that people who experience polyamorous shapes are in a category like that.
gotcha.
Not
Um,
as a social category, if you will.
yeah, yeah. Um, what kind of misconceptions about polyamory do you think a lot of people have? I think we could probably come up with a few easily, but what would you say might be some misconceptions that a lot of non-poly folks might have about that particular lifestyle or
And
community?
and poly folks too.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of pressures to conform, no matter who you are or what you are.
Hmm.
And that part of that conformity pressure includes negative biases that have to do with the the person who's experiencing the bias projecting something about themselves onto another person or another group. So all the different kinds of distortions and biases that can come from dishonesty, or which is a lot more honesty in poly spaces than in non-poly spaces.
Hmm.
Um, disorganization takes a
Hmm.
lot more organizing to manage a complex system than
Hmm.
not a complex system. So I think it's a lot about projection. Whatever anybody might perceive as being problematic in their own personhood or in their own family space, then can get projected onto um, anybody who's not conforming in any
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
Yeah, expectations, norms
Hmm.
that are then considered. But as we know, anyone who's doing a bold or courageous thing tends to have often reveal deeply held values that the normative groups also have. So you'll find that consistently, I think.
Hmm. I probably should have asked this first, and I think I did a little bit, but especially now that Emily's with us, um, your your background, I know, is in like systemic therapy work in part, but also what other parts of your background might have contributed to that? And then also, I think again you spoke to it a little bit, but what is your experience working with people in poly structures? Just so we
Yeah.
can kind of add to it.
So I have a master's in human development, and human development's been a pretty big framing for me. And then, so understanding kind of life stages and the stages of maturity is in particular for adults. And adults do move into more complexity as they mature or as we mature. So it's a kind of expected thing that as people grow out of a conventional developmental center of gravity, that normative spaces, normative shapes would fairly, again, naturally fall out of utility. So I don't think of poly or transnormative um, commitment agreements as being an alternate path.
Mhm.
I think of it more as a natural maturational event.
I love that framing. That's really cool. Yeah.
It's a little bit, different, but that's kind of how I think about it.
No, I think it
I
makes
don't
sense.
expect, I don't have like my normies and my weirdos, it's like I have
Yeah.
like I fully expect all my people, all my clients
Hmm.
to show up one at some point or another if I work with them long enough to do something transnormative.
Yeah.
And that's how I think of this. So it's really kind of more normal than non-normal, but it's transnormative.
That's
So
very
that's
both
one.
and.
Yeah, it's very both and.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's a human development orientation. And then yes,
Oh,
I'm trained in systems.
mhm.
Um, I'm a systemic supervisor and systemic family therapist. And I'm a psychodramatist and expressive arts therapist, and I've done a lot of work in the arena of liberatory and critical psychology. So that's where a lot of this kind of goes. I don't know if that answers the question you were
Absolutely.
asking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be sure to show them your book, and I imagine we will use it as a source too.
Okay.
Um, how would you define polyamory? Again, I think you've kind of alluded to it in a couple of different ways, but I wondered if there's anything you might add.
Yeah, today, ask me tomorrow and I'll have a
Right.
different question.
Yeah.
Today, I would say that polyamory is what some people call the experience of coming to clarity about an updated sense of what commitment means. There's a couple of features. One is when individuals or couples or triads or four or whatever, whenever people kind of have an awakening that conventional monogamy has a very particular socio-historical location that wraps around patriarchy and that wraps around the definition of the understanding of people as property. And so that frame, how do you know which people belong to you under father rule, which is what patriarchy is, at a historical moment where you can't do genetic testing because that's a couple thousand years out? The only way you can do that in a guaranteed mode is to create a monogamous shape where you
Mm,
can track parentage by virtue of preventing access to a womb except by one contributor.
mhm,
Um, One way or another, that either consciously, unconsciously, overtly or not, in terms of maturation, individual and collective, there's a moment of, wait a minute,
mhm,
that's not relevant anymore.
mhm,
That is not relevant anymore. So if monogamy is a product of patriarchy and father rule as an economic system is connected to tracking fatherhood, then are we what are we doing now? How does that all work now?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one angle. The other
Mm-hmm.
angle is just, again, very people just coming to a real, and I have a little commercial here in a minute, but there's a coming to recognize, okay, I am I am able to commit to more than one person. I am able to be faithful to more than one person. One bond is not deleted or challenged by another bond.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just complexity. That's all it is. But I have a commercial, and that's because I live in the Pacific Northwest, and I don't know if this is everywhere, but dating is not polyamory. I've got dogma about that. When people are dating and they lead with, I'm polyamorous,
Mm-hmm.
but they're dating, that's not polyamory. That's dating. And you don't have to be polyamorous to date, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be monogamous to date.
Mm-hmm.
Dating is its own
Oh.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
Polyamory is really connected to this patriarchal idea around economic shape, the economy of emotional resource, and the economy of other kinds of resources, including financial. So I think polyamory gets used in a very casual, the phrase, the term gets used more casually in a way that I think is problematic. When someone says they're polyamorous or whatever word they prefer,
Mm-hmm.
what they're saying is, I'm engaging in a very complex, labor-intensive uh, commitment that includes my time, my emotional, and other resources.
Mm-hmm.
It's not casual. It's not like a fad or like a style.
Right.
It's dense and complicated and requires a whole lot of maturity. It's the only word I can use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds
How does
like
that land with all of you? I'm just curious how you're experiencing that. If you would be willing to open your mics and just, how does that land for you?
Yeah. I was thinking, do you have clients that come in and express themselves as polyamorous, and then in your mind you're thinking, well, no, you're just casually dating? Or how often does that come out? Or do you find that when people, I guess, I don't know, commit to the idea of polyamorous, that they, or polyamory, that they understand? I guess, does that make sense? Like, kind
Yeah,
of
I
are with
think what I experience is that somebody will say, um, I've started dating someone or someone's or whatever, and I'm telling them I'm polyamorous because if this turns into something more serious, I want them to be aware that that's part of the complexity that I bring. So that's one category.
Mhm.
Another category is, well, I'm dating three people, so I think I might be polyamorous.
Mm. I think I see the difference.
Mhm.
Right. So the
Yeah.
person who says I'm dating three people has somehow um, they think that they owe a different kind of disclosure
Mhm.
than is appropriate for an early dating period.
Okay.
Mm.
Or someone says, "Well, I'm dating someone when they tell me they're polyamorous," and so that means I have to be polyamorous, right?
Mhm.
Right.
And
And it
it's
not
like
necessarily.
we're crossing bridges in a different order than I think we need to.
Mm.
So a lot of what I'm doing with people who are younger is just saying you get to date in whatever wonky wild shape you want.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually too conservative to say
Mm-hmm.
I'm polyamorous or you're polyamorous or will you be polyamorous is too conservative. It's asking you to engage in, for example, disclosing how many other people you're dating in a way that is what's the word I want? Like too soon.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm looking for, for or something with the B.
Mhm.
It's not time yet to be in contractual conversation with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like that's a distortion of the idea of polyamory, I think. I don't know.
No, I think that makes sense. It's like a nuance that's definitely worth mentioning. I like kind of the breakdown of that. Like if you're dating multiple people, that doesn't necessarily mean you're polyamorous,
Or that you
nor
want to
does
be
it not
polyamorous
mean
with
that.
them. You
Yeah,
might be polyamorous, but that's what I'm saying. It's like
yeah,
it's an anticipatory commitment.
yeah,
That's what bothers me about it, is that
yeah,
when people are having conversation about polyamory, or contractual conversation about being polyamorous early on, it feels a little bit patriarchal. Like
yeah. It
you're
almost like
saying,
circles back.
yeah, like commit
Yeah.
to me and disclose to me all of your dating
Mm.
experience in a way that is not yet appropriate. So anyway, that's my commercial, but we can close the commercial to come back
No,
to
I
the
appreciate
topic
it.
at hand.
Yeah, it's a nuance that yeah, that I don't think has come up at least in any of our conversations yet. So I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Either monogamy talk or polyamory talk is
mhm.
soon at that point.
Yeah, yeah. Just get to know each other and then see how it goes from there. You don't have to commit
Yeah,
to
I
any of
mean,
that.
I like I said, well, okay, you're polyamorous, and how many times have you seen this? You're polyamorous with somebody, and this is your second date?
Right. Yeah,
Smoke
yeah,
comes out of my head.
yeah. That makes sense.
Okay,
Um,
but you were asking what other biases,
yeah, yeah.
I think, yeah, this maybe just goes there, like
Hmm.
assumptions about
Hmm.
uh another interpretation is like, well, you're saying, oh, you're polyamorous, that means you can't commit. That's the main one.
Mm.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
it's actually the exact opposite.
That's what is becoming more and more clear the more we learn and the more we talk to folks too, is there's actually often so much more straightforward discussion in these kinds of structures, however, whatever the shape looks like, often than there is in more monogamous structures, which is not that paradoxical sounding to me at this point, but at first it might have been. So yeah, that makes sense. Are there particular models of working in therapy that you find can be the most helpful or particularly helpful? Or I think you've talked a little bit about like the things that you are knowledgeable in, but have you found anything to be particularly helpful when working with people who
Yeah,
engage in these kinds of relationships or structures?
I think all of the things around anything complex. So
Hmm.
IFS is super
Hmm.
helpful.
Hmm.
Um, generally systemic varieties of systemic orientations of just
Hmm.
understanding, again, open systems.
Hmm.
Um, Developmental frames are always in play. Um, a degree of social analysis, usually at least around gender, but sometimes around sexual orientation and other dynamics as well.
Hmm.
Intersectional analysis comes in quite a bit. There was one other one I was thinking about. I mean, maybe imago or other kind of connected to psychodynamic to understand our reactivity to each other kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
So imago is helpful because it's a way to quickly go. Are you familiar with
Mm-mm,
imago therapy?
not
Um,
yet.
it's just the ability to say, oh, okay, I am having something's constellating for me that is not about the present moment.
Oh, okay.
So where am I? When am I? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when members of a system, of an intimate system or a family system can recognize, I walked in the door, you said hi, and I'm in full despair. What just happened? And then the ability for the partner or partners to come around and look through that person's perspective, not to find fault with anybody, but to say, okay, well, where are you? Oh, I think I'm 6 years old and I came home and one of my parents was gone, right? It's like,
Hmm.
okay, we can see how that constellated has
Hmm.
nothing to do with the present, or
Right.
very little. Maybe
Hmm.
it has 10% or 20% to do with the present, but a lot of it, when you complexify a system, an intimate system, there's more it's almost like the self is greedy for healing, right? And that's part of growing more complex. And so there's more chances to clear trauma.
Mm. Mm. That makes sense because
Instead
there's
of
more
one, like,
interaction.
yeah, like one person who triggers me all day is one thing, but now I get two people who trigger me all day, or
Yeah.
three people who trigger me all day.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My self system is gonna kind of get while the getting is good in a way, and work through, take the opportunity to work through more dimensions. It's not hard to understand how a bisexual person with a male bodied partner and a female identified partner would come into therapy and say, yeah, I got all my father and mother stuff coming up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That makes a lot of
that's
sense. Yeah.
that's just normal in a way. And again, it's just capacity. Humans are capable of some serious complexity. I can tell you that. I don't know, maybe dolphins can do more, whales, but um, humans, as humans become more mature, can do some fancy acrobatic stuff. And given the chance, they will.
Yeah.
And that's where therapy can be helpful, to manage those maneuvers, to
Hmm.
teach those skills.
Hmm.
Because what we want, like what I always say, when I'm doing couple or family work is um, you want to have most of your days be days where you're living, not processing.
Mm.
Mm. Like being a human being rather than a human doing kind of thing.
Yeah, or be a human being, a human being doing, but not processed cheese human. Like
Yeah.
that processing, like that what we call fighting sometimes,
Hmm.
how much of the time, and this is a Gottman thing, like the Gottman framing of, conflict is not what breaks people up. Um, it's processing, toxic rehashing and patterns of activation that don't resolve.
That is indeed what we are learning. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, so what we want is we want the therapy time to be productive, and then we want people to have methodology and capacity to move through glitches quickly and efficiently so they can go have their walk or their meal or their sex or their whatever they want to do with
Yeah.
their lives. We want people living. And
Hmm.
to that end, I think the more complex, the more intentional you have to be about that.
That
Mm.
makes a lot of sense.
Otherwise, you
Yeah.
get a pinball factor
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
a whack-a-mole thing. The
Mhm.
We
same
talk about
dynamic.
the whack-a-mole thing a lot in class, I think, like the one as like a side effect of like linear rather than like kind of systemic and like circular thinking, I guess. So that's what that makes me think about. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. What steps might you take in your physical like therapy space to like be more affirming of relationship structures that look, that aren't monogamous, maybe like, I don't know, seating arrangements or
Have enough seats.
yeah, yeah, like books on display, like a very prominently displayed organized calendar or something. Like I'm curious what kind of things like an MFT or any therapist really could do in a therapy space to send that message like without having to say it directly.
Yeah, I think books are fine. Um, but I also think, you want to make sure it's not a performative thing. Like,
Of course. Yeah.
if you have a book up there, you better have read it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really important point. Yeah.
Um, um, I don't know how much, again, people find me. They're
Hmm.
not really looking to cue.
Yeah.
Um, I'll tell you what I do online, because that actually is more.
Yeah.
I make them have their own screen.
Say
Like we're doing
more
right
about
now.
that.
Like right now, how each person has their own screen.
Uh-huh.
I try to get everybody to have their own screen.
I see what you're saying. That way they're not like sharing I see. Yeah, that
So I
makes
don't have three people on a screen or two people on a screen and one on another screen.
And
Everybody has their own screen.
Mm-hmm.
They
have
have to go
you,
upstairs and turn on another laptop or whatever.
yeah. And does that just give, I'm curious what the effect of that is. I think I can kind of guess, but I'm curious what the difference is when you do it that way.
It just sort of evens the field a bit, just
Yeah.
makes it everybody has access
Hmm.
to each other's face. When you're sitting like this,
Mm-hmm.
even if you have the camera where you can't, or if two people are doing this, it just kind of cuts out everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I do the same thing in the room. I kind of want everybody to be able to see everybody.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, and some of my clients and students have teased me about that, I'm 80% feng shui or something, that I'm not constantly moving around the chair. Like, no, no, can you see each other? Not move over here or whatever. So that's the main thing is I want people to have audio and visual and kinesthetic access to each other.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah.
And I do a lot of psychodrama, so people have to be able to move.
Right.
So let's see if I can show you what that means. Did everybody just see me move everybody? Let's see here if I go like that. If I say, okay, now I want this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's very psychodrama style of working, because I want people to reverse roles. So
Mhm.
Emily, you're now Amanda, and Amanda, you're now
Mhm.
Emily. Now speak from that voice. So
Yeah.
psychodrama is very, very useful, and it's a group shape. So asking for a lot of full body engagement, embodied orientation. Um, can everybody reverse roles with everybody else?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can see how that
From,
would.
from that perspective. Or the other thing I use a lot is watch the movie. So if I've got four people, we're going to watch four separate movies. And it's kind of convenient if I have the screen access, right? I can do that.
Mhm.
And now we're all gonna just focus on one person,
Jazz hands.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then they get in the habit of talking like that. And so they'll say, well, in my movie, this is what happened.
Mhm.
What happened in your all's movie?
Mm-hmm.
And that comes up a lot when there's multiple parents in different roles,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they have disagreement about parenting or whatever. Um, I here's why I said what I said, or here's why I need you to back me up on this decision, or um, it's kind of like the next level of the imago thing. The imago thing is more just how am I triggered by you? The next level is how is your parenting now activating something for me as in my autobiography. Um, and just I'm telling you, like it should be called complex relationship. It shouldn't be called polyamory.
Mm. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. It ironically simplifies it when you call it that. Yeah. Paradox. Yay.
It's just a lot more, there's just a lot more to maneuver,
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, which
Um,
makes people have to be more responsive just to
mhm.
get through the week.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah. It kind of goes back to what you were saying, I think, about like being when you complexify things, there's more opportunities for triggering. So yeah, to get through the week, I can imagine. Yeah, that makes sense. Um,
It's just very, very, very labor intensive.
yeah, that makes sense. That
That's
makes
the
sense.
main thing about it, more
Mhm.
than anything else. People get into complex relationships because they're ready to work on their healing and their maturity much harder than the so-called average person.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's behind it.
Do
It
they
was.
often know that, do you find that they're aware of that a lot of the time or not always out of
Not always,
interest? Yeah, that makes sense.
not always, but
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah,
That's what that drive is.
that makes
It's
sense.
like an impulse to tell the truth in a deeper way and to show up authentically and responsibly more of the time, which is why this other category of the pseudo poly dating thing isn't that.
Because it's missing that piece,
Yeah, it's
or
just
it
I'm
can be
polyamorous,
missed.
that means I'm gonna do whatever I want, or you're polyamorous, that means that you freak me out, or whatever the thing.
Mhm.
Um, but and then it's interesting because the majority of the people that I have worked with who are doing what I would call the serious work of complex relationship, they don't really call themselves poly. I
Interesting.
find that kind of
Mm.
um I don't know what they would say. I should ask.
I'm
Um,
curious, yeah.
they don't use the phrase as much.
But feel too broad, maybe. I mean,
No,
it's
too light,
too okay.
No, that makes sense actually. I could,
like too casual.
yeah.
Mm.
And they say, no, I'm not polyamorous.
Right.
I have strong committed relationships that are
Mhm.
complex with more than one person.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I
So
can't put a name
poly
to
kind of
it, but
sounds like lively, like fun.
Mhm.
I'm sure it can be, but yeah, I can see why what you're saying is true. It makes sense to me too.
Mhm.
Um,
At the same time, I kind of try to get them to make friends with the term again,
Mm.
you know, just to say you're part of a larger wave of consciousness.
mhm,
So I try to get them to kind of say, well, okay, that if that's what I can mean by it, then I can embrace it.
mhm.
Yeah.
Some of them
Fascinating.
have gone to like poly conferences or something and they didn't like it. And I'm
Mm.
like, okay, well, you didn't like that one. I don't know. Maybe
Mhm.
there's something else that might fit for you. Because it
Yeah.
is lonesome, right? For some of my families and collectives don't know a lot of other people that are out.
Mhm.
So, I get to sit in a town that's small and know quite a few people who don't know about each other.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I know that we're collectively, societally not at a place where people feel comfortable being more explicit about their life shapes. They have no obligation to be um, out or explicit. That's their
Mhm.
private business. And I wish I could introduce some of my folks to each other.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
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 Sure. Would you be able to speak to some of the intersecting identities
Mm.
that come up in therapy that make it complicated? I'm just with
Yeah,
you.
I mean, there's dynamics of, gender expansiveness or varieties of sexual orientation. But all of the elements of intersectionality come in. Um, Definitely racialization plays, what is it like to be the person of color in a
Mm.
otherwise white shape? Uh,
Mhm.
and how does it play? I mean, class definitely plays into it. Religious culture plays into it.
Mhm.
In these moments, I want to say I have a couple of collectives where being documented or not documented is a pretty loud factor.
Mhm.
These two
Mhm.
people are married, they're documented, this person is not. How does that create unevenness in that relationship? What can be
Yeah.
done about it,
Mhm.
right? When you can't really be legally married to more than one person
Mhm.
and initiate a process of um, documenting that person.
Mhm.
These things gang up against people in ways. Um, yeah, I think coloniality is a factor for quite a few people. How does this dimension of having a relational shape play in for somebody whose ancestral family shapes were not monogamous or not father-centric?
Mhm.
It's a whole, it's always, always, always there. All of the dimensions are always present one way or another.
Hmm.
I don't know if that goes to Emily, to what you were asking about. But I
Yeah.
think what a lot of people bring in, and that's just kind of reminding me, is some people come in and they say, well, I want to talk about ethical non-monogamy, the ENM, ethical non-monogamy, and contrast that with open relationships or polyamory. That is a structural difference, which I think again hints to some people are saying this is a complex thing. Like I've had somebody call me up and say, okay, I understand that you work with all different kinds of intimate shapes. Are you a poly-friendly or poly-serving therapist, or do you understand ethical non-monogamy? What do you hear in
Why
that
is
con?
there an or there?
Yeah. So what do you hear in the or?
Um, um, like a power imbalance kind of thing, or like a hierarchy kind of thing
Right.
almost.
Right. What I've learned, and it's not across the board, but what I've learned is kind of what I've already been talking about. It's like, well, do you work with people in open relationships that are just being messy in their lives? Or do you work with people to carry out an ethical, complex thing?
Hmm.
Hmm.
And so I had to learn that, from clients that they have gone to a therapist who maybe advertised as a poly-friendly,
Hmm.
and they were like, okay, this is not what we want. We want to be really responsible to each other. And so the word ethical and
Hmm.
non-monogamy in contrast with a particular idea of what poly might be.
Mm.
So, you know, um,
Hmm.
how to think about that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really interesting how even like the sort of umbrella term that's used to that poly, I guess technically fits under, even that is,
yeah, that's
yeah,
nuanced, right?
yeah,
So like
yeah,
when if you talk to folks, like, what do you mean by ethical non-monogamy? They'll
yeah.
say things like it's a it's a maybe non-conventional or non-traditional structure, which can vary and go from dyadic to triadic to whatever other
Hmm.
shapes. But the key is there's full consent, knowledge, and explicit, um, non-secret or honest or open disclosure, and everyone is yes for whatever it is we're doing consensually.
Hmm.
We
And
have
that can
to-
include, and because of all of these economic, emotional, parental, children, location, property, all these kind of things, where an open relationship might not involve as much disclosure.
Right.
And that's where I kind of go, okay, well, are they dating?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
or are they in this, have they been in a monogamous thing? And now one person wants to do something different. The other one
Hmm.
is like, just don't tell me. That's
Hmm.
different.
Yeah.
And so there's all these shapes, right?
Hmm.
Permeable,
Hmm.
leakier, no
Hmm.
judgment, but it is, the work is different.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Trying to think. There's so many questions I would love to ask, but I know we don't have as much time. I could talk about this all year, I feel, but
And you probably will.
I hope so. Yeah. Um, I out of all the questions that I have listed, I think with the time we have left, maybe what I'm most curious about is like, what would you add, or what do you think is something important that we know or that we disseminate? I think
Yeah.
that would be a good thing, unless, either of you two have anything else, please. I mean,
I have one thing that feels important to say, which is that
mhm.
for some people, so I guess I would lead with, don't assume that, not don't assume anything ever, but
Right.
don't
Yeah.
assume that anyone is experiencing polyamory as an identity or an identity versus an orientation versus a practice. Like even the idea like, well, poly people or poly community,
Mhm.
I'm cautious about that.
Mhm.
For some people, it's an idea. I have several clients, right, who have poly is part of their identity and they're in no intimate relationship of any kind.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
It is a function of how they do the world, their
Mhm.
identity.
Mhm.
Other clients have more, they would describe it more as an orientation,
Mhm.
not an identity.
Mhm.
And then yet others describe it as a practice.
Mhm.
So just kind of being open on your, and
Mhm.
what's tricky is that sometimes all three of those things are represented in the same system.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating to
And
think about.
they're coming to therapy for support about that,
Wow.
right? Someone says, I am polyamorous.
Uh-huh.
It is part of my identity.
Mhm.
You, my beloved partner, are not. You're engaged in a practice with me, but it isn't part
Mm.
of my identity, so you don't know what it's like.
Yeah, okay.
Me. And the other one will say, right, and you don't get what it's like to be me because I'm not polyamorous as an identity.
Mm.
And everybody can be whatever, it's just a
Mhm.
function of getting everybody's needs met and getting people to feel understood.
Mm.
And then often they kind of drop away those delineations that they were using to help each other feel understood. And they say, okay, the whole thing, this stuff doesn't go into language. I
Mhm.
never did. But just kind of starting from there, like that's why I was kind of like, well, I don't know about what I signal on the walls or anything.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
I could give one or another one of these cues.
Yeah.
And I'm curious what it is that any individual or collective is here to do and how they want to language it.
Mhm. Yeah.
And what they want to read off of me is just how flexible or capable I might be to co-create or to invite meaning making between them versus having any kind of like a pre-made shape.
Mhm. I really appreciate that approach. I like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
It kind of takes the pressure right off of the therapist. I feel like that's been
Mhm.
a continuing theme, is to like
It
not assume
has, yeah.
anything because everybody has their own relationship with whatever they're involved in. Not even to assume just because, there's a monogamous couple coming in that they are ethically monogamous or right. It's
Fair point, well
any
made. Yeah.
kind of
Yeah, I mean, look at the stats, right?
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
funny thought.
To me. Yeah.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
it's not, I mean, at the very least, emotionally, there's no way one person's going to meet anyone else's all of their needs.
No. Yeah.
We know that we know for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one thing we can take to the bank
Mhm.
is if you are with someone long enough, at some point, and probably from the start, one
Mhm.
person cannot meet another person's entirety of needs. And it's inhumane to expect that. So
Yeah, and
what's the shape of that? It's a creative project.
yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Kind of where I'm ending is like, well, don't tell anybody, but everybody is poly.
Yeah. Actually, it makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I suppose that's part of why connection is so important to humanity in a way, because as you said, no one person can meet any other one person's or however, whatever, all their needs. Yeah, that makes a lot of
So
sense.
I'll take a minute more to say
Mhm.
two more things. One
Yeah.
is jealousy is a learned
Mhm.
response.
Hmm.
And over 40 years of therapy work, I've been stunned and shocked over and over by humans' ability to unlearn it.
Mm. Hmm. I love that.
Nobody wants to be replaced, but that's not jealousy.
Mhm.
What would you describe that as?
Jealousy is the entrained reaction to having something that is property taken.
Mm.
But if people aren't property, then
Right.
Yeah. So the jealousy response, when you unpack it, sort of disintegrates. And that
Oh.
is, in terms of liberatory consciousness,
Mhm.
really crucial.
No, yeah.
What's the second thing I was going to say? I forgot. But that one was really
That
loud.
one felt important. Do
Mhm.
you do you have a name for what people think jealousy is? Kind of like what you were alluding to a moment ago. Do you have like something that you call that? Like,
I call it jealousy. It's just that it's
yeah,
learned.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Okay.
maybe envy. I
Yeah.
want I want something that I want something that is mine that I don't know I have.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Seems like there might not be an
Traditional.
English word.
Yeah, I was gonna say if I go to my own ancestral knowing and what I grew up with in central Mexico, there was something called the twisted heart. Like if you saw somebody with beautiful long hair, right? Um, you also have long hair, but you forgot. So,
Oh,
or you can grow it,
yeah, yeah.
like, oh, I wish I had that.
Mm,
Every time, I wish I had that. Always, every single time you feel that, the truth is you do have it.
Mm,
And this is a way to know that you're ready to own it. That
mm-hmm.
does play into the work with individuals and collectives around the experience of longing or, oh, you have that bond with that, that you have a connection with that person that I wish I had. And the work therapeutically almost always is in what way do you have that and just don't know you have that? And
Mm,
how can you claim that? Because you only envy what you have, what already is yours. You never envy something unless you already have it, at least in the traditional sense that I grew up.
mm-hmm.
It's always, envy is always a signal of something that is yours
interesting.
that
And you
you
just don't
don't
realize it.
realize you have.
Oh, that's so fascinating.
It's going to take
Ooh.
about,
Yeah.
oh, right. Because we
And
don't think it's
nothing like a complex relationship to bring that into focus.
Right?
Saying,
Yeah.
Emily?
no, that's just going to take me a minute to like really like
Mm-hmm.
one because it doesn't feel automatic. Like that doesn't seem like an automatic thought to think
Yeah.
I have something that I'm envious of, but
It's a golden projection every single time. I wish I was smart because I am smart. I wish I was beautiful. Well, I'm already beautiful. I wish I was whatever,
I'm just not looking
whatever
for
I
it or
wish for.
noticing it, maybe.
I've
Yeah.
somehow been trained to disown something, and now I get to see it. And that's step one in reclaiming it.
mm,
Oh, wow. I can think of so many other things that applies to. Now my brain is going even faster than usual.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Do
cool.
you find that there's kind of, sorry to keep going. I know we're like, and more, and more. Do you find that there's like a misconception with assuming, oh, I can't be polyamorous because I'm too jealous, right? Like I hear that a lot. And I don't know, do you want to speak to
Yeah,
that a lot?
I
I know you
mean,
did,
I
but
think that's if a person says that, they are reporting a true thing about their center of gravity. But I always, inside my own head, I go, life is long, and who even knows? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, the same person in a couple, say it's a couple, and one says, I want to open the relationship, and the other one says, no way, forget it.
Hmm.
I'm too jealous.
Hmm.
Guess who's gonna go out first?
Probably that person.
mm,
Hmm.
mhm.
It's a tell.
It's interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's
That makes a lot of sense too.
the person who is thinking they can't open the relationship is likely to open first. So
Interesting.
I just put my seatbelt on and get ready for that person to go first. Because I can tell that's going to happen. And they
Interesting.
come in and they're like, I don't know what's happening. I feel really entranced by someone at work. And I didn't, oh my, if this was happening with you, I'd be losing my mind. And then the other person says, well, then it's a good thing it's not happening in that order because I'm cool with this. Tell me all about it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right? This is rich. So, and it happens over and over and over
Hmm.
again.
Fascinating.
All right. I'm
Fascinating.
going to
Yeah.
run off.
Thank you
It's
Yeah.
been
so
lovely.
much.
Kalina, I think you didn't get enough times to talk, but If you have any follow-up questions, please send them my way.
Thank you
Okay, thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your
Do you need to
day.
do anything to the recording, Delio?
I'm not sure. I think I just stop it and then
Yeah,
it should
stop it and
save.
maybe it'll tell you where